The Eagles have reported for training camp, which means the first practice happens tomorrow. We're going to talk about whether they can make this the best year yet. Coming up next on the PHLY Eagles podcast. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the PHLY Eagles podcast on a Tuesday. Hi to Bo Wulf, Zach Berman. It's report day. Zach, how you feeling?
I'm feeling great. I'm doing well. I'm excited for the show, excited for the next 6, maybe 7 months, excited for what's thereafter. But I will say to the audience, you know, when we started this job, one of the things I said is we have 5 shows a week, year round. So what's the offseason going to be like? And we brainstormed. And I remember
you made it.
Once once minicamp ended, we sat down and we mapped out 6+ weeks of shows. What this show is going to be like, what that show is going to be like. We did the same thing during draft. We did the same thing during free agency. And you know what? The non-playing season,
the NPO,
is complete. Tomorrow begins football for us. Storylines, they go in to the deck. You shuffle the deck. You go into the pot, whatever analogy you want to use. But I am excited for training camp to begin.
So am I. And we will get to see them on the practice field tomorrow. We'll get that clickety-clack that we've been looking forward to.
This is also bow time. Like you are, as I've long said.
Oh, here we go.
And
as a student observer.
Training camp observer. Yeah, you've said you love training camp.
Of course. I love training camp. This is when we get to see more than we get to see all season long. We get to make, reads with our own eyes. It's also the time when I think we are of best service to the audience because we see things that they do not see. It's not like we're talking about a game that we all watched on TV. Going into the locker room and watching training camp, or like that's when you can take people to a place that they are not able to go to, right? So, I take training camp seriously. You got to watch as much as you can.
Well said. Agree with you there. And this is the other time too, not to say that the organization or teams mislead or lie, but this is a time when like we see the same thing they see. Now I know they're watching film right after practice, and there's a lot that goes on that they obviously have more context and more understanding, but ostensibly they can't, what's the expression? They can't pee on us and say it's raining.
Yes.
Is that the expression? Or is it, I didn't screw that up, right?
Well, you can use different synonyms for pee, but however you want.
Whatever you want to say. So basically, if there's a player who looks horrible out there, they can't say this guy looks great. Like
they can say it.
Well, you know what I mean. And there are times too.
Well, you get the Reed Blankenship's having a good first week, and then it's like, oh no, nobody talk about Reed Blankenship, and then it's like, oh well, now it's become inevitable. He's going to make the team.
But also, I think back to 2022, Jalen looked really good that summer, and you said, all right, this hype's real. You think back to 2020, Carson did not look good that summer, and it's like maybe there's reason for concern here, right? So this is all a way. Now you can't be misled. At the end of training camp last year, I was like, DeAndre Swift, they're going to throw the ball to him all the time, right? But this is the time of year when, things aren't happening behind closed doors, where we are permitted to be at every single practice from now through the second preseason game.
Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to it. All of these theoretical things that we've been talking about over the course of the past couple months, we're going to get to see it in action over the next month or so. And so on this show, Zach, we're going to talk a little bit about the things that are going to be the most important for us to learn just in the magnifying glass of the next week, like what actually matters in the first week of training camp. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. We've got the quarterback position to talk about to wrap things up as our training camp preview, and then a little bit of news to get to. So let's start with, if you want to go stone cold newsman on me, what's going on with the ex-Eagle who has not gone to Jets training camp?
Haason Reddick is holding out from New York Jets training camp.
Would you ever consider a holdout?
Would I consider a holdout?
Or hold in? Like you sit on the show, but you don't say a word until you.
You know what? I don't think I have the same leverage. Right? I like to think I'm good at my job.
You've got we got all of a sudden like Philadelphia websites taking pictures of you in kimonos all over the city.
I think I wouldn't wear a kimono. I can't pull that off. Nothing to do with what latent masculinity or something or toxic masculinity, whatever you say. No, I mean, honestly, I think Haason Reddick can hold out because he's an elite pass rusher, and he wants to be paid like an elite pass rusher. Now, this is the mystifying thing, is the New York Jets made this trade knowing Haason Reddick wanted more money. Now, I see these reports out of Florham Park, but, the Jets reporters, they're doing their job, and they're saying Jets sources say they offered him a new deal before the trade, right, to kind of rework his contract, but to get the contract that he wants, he has to report and earn it. This is my issue with that, is that the Eagles operate under the same rule. Like, the Eagles understood this. The Eagles traded him, and I'm not saying the Eagles made the right decision by trading him, because you can make an argument Haason Reddick's worth $28 million or $29 million, but the reason the Eagles moved on from him was because they knew this was going to happen. They knew Haason Reddick was not going to play under his current deal, or even a slightly revised deal, right? I mean, they recognized this was going to be an issue. So unless the Jets were either operating under the assumption that Haason Reddick wanted out of Philly and would just play under a slightly revised deal, and maybe they got information, or that his gripe was with the Eagles and not the contract, I don't know why you make a trade without having firm resolution on this.
It doesn't make any sense. It's kind of like day one GM stuff, right?
Yeah.
Why you wouldn't make this trade unless this thing was rectified? It's very bizarre.
Very bizarre.
and it doesn't really change the way that I feel about the deal from the Eagles' perspective. And I think Handsome Rich tweeted this. It's not like, oh, all of a sudden Howie got one over on him. It's more just like, what is Joe Douglas doing?
Exactly.
It's very weird.
I agree. I don't think this is like a Howie masterclass. I think Howie correctly projected what was going to happen with Reddick. I don't think
if Howie gives a press conference tomorrow before training camp, which he usually does, he may begin it with calling out who was it? Was it Dave?
It was Dave Uram.
Yeah, he's just going to start just pointing fingers like, why you like the trade now, Dave?
No, it's a fair, the Eagles didn't get better by trading Haason Reddick. Now what Howie's point was, and I understand it, is that you can't evaluate that trade in a vacuum. You have to look at what the contract would have been for Reddick, the difference in salary between what they saved and with cash and cap by trading Reddick, how they reallocated that money. The draft pick compensation wasn't what I thought it should have been given the talent, but this is partly why, because it was trade and then re-sign. And so what the Eagles did was they signed Bryce Huff to $17+ million. Yeah. Then they reallocated that money. They gave Devontae Smith a contract extension. They gave Jordan Mailata. Now, it's not like a one-for-one thing, but this is all part of it. And then they get draft inventory in 2026. From the Eagles' perspective, though, because I do see there's Eagles fans doing victory laps for Howie. Their pass rush is not better, from my estimation, right now, with Haason Reddick than it would have been, with Bryce Huff than it would have been with Haason Reddick. So you're really putting a lot of faith in Bryce Huff getting better, or in Bryce Huff emerging with more opportunity, and Nolan Smith getting better. Otherwise, you could say you did all this. Give me the guy who has 4 straight double-digit sack seasons and is the best pass rusher they've had in a decade plus.
Yeah, probably so. Speaking of the other New York or New Jersey football team, Zach, the Saquon Barkley interview on the Marissa Morris podcast, the Marissa Dunn podcast. What were your takeaways from the interview with Diana Rossini and Saquon?
Yeah, I thought Saquon was honest about the departure with the Giants, and I thought he put it well. And it's similar to what our takeaway was when we were discussing Hard Knocks last week, is that it didn't seem like the Giants wanted him back. Mm-hmm. And it seemed like the Giants were surprised that he was getting paid what he got paid, right? Saquon said it seemed like the Giants wanted him to sign for $9 million, and then Saquon hit free agency, and it kind of what happened was what he had hoped and expected to happen is that teams were actually interested in him. And but if the Giants wanted him back, the Giants would have wanted him back. It's like if you get an offer from a different employer and like the employer's offering X and your place is offering Y, it's like, well, that place values you more than your current place, right? And that's kind of what it was here with the Giants and the Eagles. Like the Eagles valued Saquon Barkley more than the Giants did. I imagine the Texans and the Bears, a similar thing. They valued him more than what the Giants did. The Giants, and look, that's the Giants' prerogative, but the Giants can act like Saquon left them. If yeah, so
ridiculous.
I thought Saquon was honest, number one, and I thought that also Hard Knocks is like fact check this. We've seen it play out in real time. I didn't find there's not much he can really say about the Eagles right now. He was honest. Like there's so much unknown about how this offense is going to look. I liked his anecdote about Nick Sirianni that like when Sirianni was on the other sideline, he couldn't stand the guy.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Then like he gets to meet him. It's like, oh, this is all real. Like this energy, this enthusiasm. So yeah, look, I thought he came off pretty likable on there. I've always found Saquon in public comments to be likable. He said,
and even like self-reflective, like regretting the way that he initially seeded out the message, saying that he thought that he was maybe a little bit immature about that. I think that was good perspective. Yeah.
The Eagles have their media guide out today.
I meant to ask you about this. Congratulations! I know this is one of your favorite days of the year.
Yeah, John Ganode from the Eagles PR department does an outstanding job. Well, the whole Eagles PR staff, and you find good tidbits. Anyways, in the Saquon bio, when he talks about what he would do if he wasn't playing football, he said he would be a television host talking about sports and life. So I bring that up as a way of saying I think he knows how to be charming on camera, but he should
invite him onto the show.
He comes off. I would love that. Saquon, if you're watching, which I imagine you are, I don't know, but you have an open invitation. You can. I would love if actually someone sat right here between us, but you can sit in this seat, Saquon. I don't want to monopolize the conversation. What were your big takeaways from it?
No, I think you hit it well. I thought it was good. It was good perspective and good conversation. On the topic of the
and well produced
and very well produced. On the topic of the media guide, Zach, I want to ask you a very important question.
Yes.
Any changes to Jeffrey Lurie's bio? You have talked in the past about the addition or subtraction of favorite movies or favorite restaurants in the city.
Yeah. So the backstory for some of our new listeners and viewers is that they snuck in like 4 new restaurants last year. And I messaged somebody in the organization about this. Right. And I think they thought it was pretty creepy that I had memorized Jeffrey Lurie's favorite restaurants. But yeah, they snuck in 4 new restaurants last year.
Because it's nice because you give Emily a list of these are the only places that we're allowed to go out to dinner. And so it was nice for you to have more options.
Yeah. That's actually a good point there. No, actually, some of the places on there are some of my favorite restaurants as well. Yeah. Jeffrey's page, I briefly scanned. I was on Anthony's show this morning, and he was doing an ad read when that came out, and I jumped to Jeffrey's page. I read through Jeffrey's page quickly, so I haven't had a chance to
match it up.
Yeah, and then I jumped to the pages of the new players: Saquon, Bryce Huff, Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, and quickly read through there for some story idea. Devin White, and I actually have some interesting story ideas that. I don't want to put them all out here, so in case our competition's watching it, but I have some good angles that I want to throw out there.
Wow, how about that?
Yeah.
All right. So you don't yet know if the restaurants ever remain static or not.
I don't believe they added one. So unless they subtracted one, I don't believe
that would be funny though. What a tough thing if they just you know what, that place has gone downhill. I can't put my stamp on that one.
And then I did not look at the movies. He's constantly updating the movies, but I kind of respect that. Like Jeffrey cares enough about media guys.
Me too. Yeah, I love that.
He's like, by the way,
it's a great year check-in. Yeah.
I saw this movie. Please add this on.
I noticed that Coda is on there. Was Coda on there last year?
Good point. I got to look that up.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Does he still have Slumdog Millionaire on there?
No. I don't think I saw Slumdog Millionaire. Oh, it hasn't aged well enough.
Yeah.
That's good. We got to do this as the show goes on. All right. Before we do that, talk about some competition, because what is more competitive than the real estate market? Today's real estate market is ultra competitive, Prospective homebuyers, perhaps just like you, are missing out on opportunities to win the perfect home. But why? It's because you don't have Mortgage CS in your corner. It may be news to you, but the mortgage company you choose matters more than ever. Even if you are already in the market, you can still explore your options with Mortgage CS. This is home financing, not a marriage. You may be shocked at how much money you can save. Mortgage CS is an independent mortgage broker in the Philly area. This means they won't steer you to just one mortgage option or what's best for them. They work for you, not the banks. Ben and Alec at Mortgage CS will ensure you have a rock-solid pre-approval, and they'll take the time to explore anything you want. What a novel idea. That's why Mortgage CS is for mortgage concierge service, the best service in the business. In the end, you will be so happy you texted Ben, the CEO of Mortgage CS, at 267-391-7425. There's a reason people win more with Mortgage CS, so call or text Ben now at 267-391-7425 and see for yourself. You can also go to www.mortgagecs.com/PHLY to check them out or view their over 370 perfect 5-star reviews by searching Mortgage CS right now. Tell them PHLY sent you.
I want to tell you about Bet Park Sportsbook because summer is over for me, but it's still here for you. So if you're at the beach, if you're on a boat, if you're at the boardwalk, the Poconos, campground, lake, backyard, wherever it may be, or even if you're just sitting in bed one night and you want to make your downtime fun, go to the Bet Parks Sportsbook app. The Bet Parks app has a lot of ways to bet. From PGA Golf, you can bet players, bet matches, bet top finishers. They are the official betting operator of PGA Golf. You can also live bet Philadelphia baseball, soccer, women's tennis, and more. You also can play terrific casino games like Baccarat, live roulette, and live blackjack with a live dealer, plus play hundreds of exciting online slots. Download the Bet Parks app and enjoy all the action and excitement from the casino right at your fingertips. Odds, bets, slots, and games right in your pocket, and a great offer for new users. New users, download the Bet Parks online casino and sportsbook app right now and get up to $1,000 casino bonus back if you're down in the first 24 hours. Casino bonus must be wagered. BetParks.com for details. You must be 21 and in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Maryland, Ohio, or Michigan. If you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. You love to play. You win. You bet. Bet Parks.
So I have the 2022 media guide up here, and they don't even have anything for. So did they take a year off in 22 and then bring it back in 23?
For Jeffrey?
For Jeffrey, there's no box in 2022. Maybe that was why you were so excited last year.
Maybe so. Yeah.
Okay.
This is all kind of blended together.
This is the most important part of training camp.
This is the most important part of training camp.
All right, let's talk about the quarterback position, Zach.
Yes.
Because all of the many things that we spend our time talking about really pale in comparison to the most important question about the season and the most important thing that's going to affect how good this team is, and that is the play of the quarterback. So with all eyes on Jalen Hurts and his relationship with Nick Sirianni and having to learn a new offense, however new it is, between 10% and 95%, dealing with a new offensive line. What are your expectations for Jalen Hurts? How important is training camp for him? Just give me your vibe check on the man who, as you said, always in photographs looks so cool. Yeah,
this is all the conversation about Jalen Hurts going into camp is not unfounded. It's not over dramatic. He is the biggest story in training camp. In a few minutes or so after the show, I'm going to have a primer up on allphly.com for our diehards, and I kind of go through the 5 of the storylines of camp. And Jalen's number one because they need Jalen to be an MVP caliber player this year. Number one. Number two, they made considerable offseason moves on the coaching staff in particular to try to maximize Jalen Hurts. And we don't know how Jalen's going to be in this offense. You've made the point a number of times, and it's a good one, that Jalen's best year, it's not a coincidence, it was 21 to 22 when there was continuity from the play caller, from the offensive coordinator. And he even said it that summer. First time that's been the case since he was in high school. So now you don't just have a new play caller, but you have a new offensive scheme in place. Jalen did not look particularly good this spring. I'm not making too big a deal about that. That's just what our eyes showed. Like I said, it's like a rough draft of an article. It's what matters is how he looks in September. But you do want him to play real well this summer. I think if he plays poorly this summer, that is concerning. I think that there's that the way he played toward the latter half of last year was a part of their collapse. Jalen did not play well enough. He turned the ball over too much. He was not efficient enough. He was outplayed. He was the less productive quarterback on the field in multiple games late in the year, and he needs to play better. Now, to answer the question, I think he can. I think he will. I think Jalen is an outstanding quarterback. He's shown it. I know sometimes, like, if I can be self-critical on this show, I sometimes fall for what I've seen. But I've seen it not too long ago, him playing as an MVP caliber player. So what I want to see in particular from him this summer is I want to see efficiency. I want him to get the ball out quickly when he's throwing it. I want to see how he moves. I'm not as focused right now on like the leadership, camaraderie part of it. I'm more concerned about that, like when they go into hard times, that's when that will reveal itself. How does Jalen kind of emote and express himself in times when they're struggling? But this summer in particular, what I'm looking forward to seeing is the way he is how he functions within the offense. I want to see him run. I want to see if he's unhindered by injury. Post Rams game last year, and you and Baldy were on top of that right away. He was not running as effectively, even though he was not on the injury report. It came out that he had a bone bruise or a deep bone bruise. So all this is a way of saying that Jalen's daily progress is a huge story, and in my opinion, the dominant story in training camp.
Would you like to hear the restaurant changes?
I knew I kind of had the filibuster because in the corner of my eye, I saw you had a media guide up there. The restaurant changes this year. The restaurant changes from a year ago?
From last year to this year.
Oh, there are changes.
There's one in, one out.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so remaining in the list.
Yes.
Barclay Prime.
Okay.
Estia.
Okay.
Pizzeria Badia.
Yeah.
Sagami.
Yeah, okay. He goes to South Jersey for sushi. I respect it.
Soraya.
Oh, okay.
Now, this is important. Last year's media guide had Soraya spelled incorrectly. This year's has corrected that.
Good work.
Okay, so they've done a good job there. Tequilas.
Yep.
Vernick.
Yeah, my favorite in the city.
And Vietnam.
I can't beat Vietnam. I've been there for lunch a few times this summer.
Now, there have been two that have been excised, rather. Not exercised. Excised from the list. Nomad, which no longer exists.
Okay,
so
that makes sense.
They did a good job keeping that up to date. Yep. And Tinto.
Whoa, Tinto getting the boot.
Tinto getting the boot.
Okay. And what gets added?
Inn. And you know what? I was hoping that the Inn would be like a new place that was like, fresh on the scene. It's actually a mainstay of the Philadelphia restaurant scene, but for some reason, maybe they've got juice again. Amada.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe he had a better meal at Amada than Yeah. Does it still have his favorite breakfast spots?
It does, and it remains the same.
Honey, Sit and Eat.
Honey, Sit and Eat.
And is Sabrina's on there, or was it?
No, it's just Honey, Sit and Eat.
Just Honey, Sit and Eat. Okay.
We'll go through the movies later in the show. Stay tuned for that.
Okay. All right. Yes. I mean, Tinto. Jeez.
Tinto. Tough.
We got to call him up for comment. That's our journalist. Yeah. What'd you put in Jeffrey's food that night?
That could be a good reporting tip, actually. Maybe they had a bad experience. There's a story there.
Maybe so. I'm going to find out. I thought there was a few others in the past that have changed. Okay, I'll look that up. I thought the Social Club was on there one time. I could be wrong. We'll see. Anyways, did you listen to anything I said about Jalen?
I listened to most of it. Yeah. I thought you did a good job.
Thank you.
There was a good soliloquy.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about the restaurants real quick, or which one's your favorite one on that list?
Oh, I don't need to talk about them, but of the ones on the list, probably Soraya.
Okay, is
my favorite.
Okay.
I like Vietnam and I like Vernick.
Yeah.
Barclay Prime is like, I just steakhouse. The ceiling's only so high. It's just I don't need a steakhouse.
Yeah. I mean, I love pizza. So I'm cool with Badea being
like
on the
Padilla,
list.
yeah.
And then Vernon's my favorite restaurant in the city.
Okay.
Yeah, shout out to Greg.
GV.
Yeah.
All right. What are your? You talked about like what matters to you with Jalen.
Yeah.
Do you think he's going to answer the call? Like, if you had to guess, like, do you think
Yeah,
he's going to have a top 5 season? And do you think that how he plays this summer is going to lead you in one way or the other? Do you think it matters?
So a few things there. First off, the ingredients are there. Like if he's healthy, and this isn't even about Kellen Moore, Nick Sirianni, in my opinion. He's throwing the ball to A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert, Saquon Barkley. If the offensive line gives him time, and his bookend tackles might be the best bookends in the league. So this wide receiver core might be the best wide receiver core in the league. It's all there for him to be exceptional. Now, I'm not saying he's going to be at the Mahomes, Josh Allen level, and he doesn't need to be. The way the Eagles are constructed right now, they have so much talent, and he doesn't necessarily need to be like I think that as long as he can stay healthy, then he'll be really good. The thing is, he needs to run the ball well. I don't think they should curtail the running. But part of what makes Jalen special is that he's dynamic on the ground, and I want to see him dynamic on the ground this year. So I think that's
We're
a
not
big
paying him
component.
more to do less.
Exactly. What do you think?
I don't know. I don't know what my expectations are, and I don't want to overvalue what I see in the summer. But it is true that the best summer I've ever seen him have led to the best season I've ever seen him have. So all of that is to say, I'm very curious. I think the variance for what Jalen Hurts does this season is pretty wide.
Well, yeah, but it needs to be a high floor. If it's not a high floor, that's concerning to me. Just because there's so much talent on offense. Like if he's a middling quarterback with A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert, Saquon Barkley, and those tackles, that to me is a concern.
Sure. I mean, also there are things that are due to regress positively. Like I think his turnovers are going to likely regress in a positive direction. Even though it's a new offense and it might take some time, I cannot imagine that he's going to be less prepared to have answers offensively than he was in the second half of last season. As long as the guys on the outside stay healthy, I think there's a pretty high floor. Yeah,
the wide receivers are key here. Injuries to them, it changes the complexion of the offense for sure. Now, to your other part of the question about how he looks, I'll mention other shows here. Like I said, I was listening to Shio Kapati and Jim Kempski over the weekend, and I thought they framed it well, and I would agree with their framing here, is that based on my experience covering camp, and I think I can speak for you, your experience covering camp, a bad summer from a quarterback is concerning. Like, I don't think a great summer from a quarterback necessarily tells you that he's going to be great that year, but a quarterback that, when we think back to like Carson's bad year, even Jalen, I didn't think Jalen was particularly good in 2021 in camp, and he wasn't that good during the season as a passer. So that's a way of saying that if Jalen looks this summer the way he looked in the spring, I will be concerned. But if Jalen's lights out this summer, I think it's a good sign. I don't necessarily think that means he's going to be lights out throughout the year.
Yeah, I think that's well said. I also think that the competition of him against a Vic Fangio defense is a little bit interesting.
Yeah.
And no shade to your boy, but in 2022, that defense turned out to be awesome. Mm-hmm. But I don't know that it was presenting complicated things for him to read necessarily over the course of the summer, right? Like there were a lot of difficult plays because James Bradbury and Darius Slay were super sticky on the outside against those guys, right? But I think Vic might take that competition a little bit more seriously.
True, and to build on that, 2021 they were a bad defense, right? And he did not take advantage of against a bad defense. That probably tells you something. This is the first year in the past few years where we're not going to see them have multiple open practices. They only have one, or I'm sorry, joint practices rather. They have one joint practice against the Patriots. Typically, 2 years ago when they practiced against the Browns and the Dolphins, it was 3 sessions. Came away, and they practiced against the Jets. They practiced against the Jets that year too,
or 2 years ago.
That was it's all kind of coming together.
Yeah,
but
it all does.
What's that?
Welcome to getting old.
Yeah. But
Can't
in
even
any
remember the
event,
movies you
that
watched
gives
on the
you
plane.
no. They did practice against the Jets 2 years ago.
Yeah, 2 years ago.
Yeah, and they
Yeah.
practiced against so they had joint practice against the Jets, the Browns, and the Dolphins. Does that sound right?
I thought wasn't the Browns last year?
Yeah, but they were the Browns came to Philly last year, and the Colts.
Right. Yeah, you're
the
right.
Browns
Was
and
it
Colts
3?
came to Philly last year.
Or were the Jets? The Jets were Nick's first year.
Is that what it was?
Because remember there was a sit down with Sirianni and Saleh before practice because they were both first time head coaches. There was an interview.
Oh, that's true. Yep.
Right.
That's a good point.
I think that's what it was.
Okay.
So it was Browns Dolphins 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Jets 3 years ago.
Yep.
Okay. Sorry to.
No, that's true. Yeah, it was Patriots and Jets 2 years, or I'm sorry, 3 years ago. Browns Dolphins 2 years ago. Yeah.
There you go. I did, while you were talking, scan the rest of the Lurie bio. No other changes. The movies and TVs all remain the same. Okay. So the only thing that has been updated is
I respect
Tinto.
That. I gotta say,
booted.
I respected that. Jeffrey sitting on the Cape or wherever during the summer. It's like, by the way, when this media guide comes out, make sure Tinto's not in there and get.
Wait, Tinto is permanently closed.
Oh, so there you go. That's what. Okay,
okay.
All right. So he's just trying. They're fact checking.
Yeah, they're maintaining it. They're maintaining it.
I respect that even more. It's a good. It's a good copy.
We do need to find out about this Amada meal that he had.
I'm going to a wedding. I'm going to a wedding next month, and the person who is having the wedding, he was my former copy editor. He was a copy editor when I was at Syracuse, and the options at the wedding are chicken and salmon. And so for my dish and Emily's dish, we put chicken and salmon, right? Okay. And so then he messaged me and he said, which one's chicken and which one's salmon?
Right.
And I was like, I respect how detailed you are. I was like, I'll take the chicken and we will take the salmon. And he's like, he said, that's the copy editor and me. I need to make sure it's accurate, right?
Yeah, he didn't know that maybe you were both trying to order both.
Oh, no. He wanted to make sure that it gets presented to the right person, I guess. Yeah.
There you go.
What would you have gone with?
I don't know.
Okay.
Probably chicken can be gross. Like if it's a bad chicken, I don't know. It depends on how fancy the wedding is going to be.
I'm just excited to see excited to see my friends from. I don't know how many people I'm going to know at the wedding. We'll see. It's been 20 years or so.
What's going to be your opener? Did you get the chicken or the salmon?
What's going to be my opener?
I mean, when you're meeting new people, yeah.
Oh no, that's not going to be my opener.
Okay.
Yeah. No, it's. I don't know. Actually, I'm just gonna say nice to meet you.
What kind of dental insurance do you have?
No, unless they're wearing the shirt with the dental insurance, I will not ask that.
All right, sticking at quarterback, Zach. Before we move on to our conversation of the things that matter the most in the first week of training camp, this battle for the number 2 spot. Do you believe that there is an honest competition between Kenny Pickett and Tanner McKee?
No. Are you suggesting there is?
Do you think there's anything that Tanner is there a level of play that Tanner McKee can reach where he can displace Kenny Pickett?
No. I think unless Kenny Pickett gets injured, I think Kenny Pickett's the guy. I think the Eagles acquired. Well, I don't think the Eagles acquired him to be their backup quarterback, right? I don't think they acquired
to flip him if they can.
Or look, yeah, that's the other thing. If Pickett looks really good in the summer, in preseason, and by the way, like last year's preseason, he looked awesome. You and I saw someone down in Orlando at the owners' meetings who was like, preseason Pickett was incredible, right? You probably don't remember that conversation, or maybe you do.
It was not unimportant.
Wow.
Preseason Pickett, yeah.
All men count with you, but none too much, right?
Yeah.
So I would say that I don't see a scenario unless they flip him. I don't see a scenario where Pickett is the third quarterback on the Eagles. I'll put it that way. Do you?
I don't think there's a scenario in which they would publicly say that he's the number 3 quarterback, but I could see a scenario where McKee plays himself to, like, if something actually goes wrong, they might eventually feel more comfortable with McKee.
Yeah, I mean, they show you with who their emergency third quarterback is and who their backup quarterback is. But you're saying,
that's what I'm saying.
If Jalen was down for 6 weeks or a season or something.
I think there's McKee could play well enough this summer for them to know that if something happens,
Yeah.
They have a quick trigger finger on Pickett if he doesn't look good.
Okay. Will you try to rebound from the Senior Bowl hello to Kenny Pickett?
Michael Dunn says hello.
Yes.
I think it would be funnier if that's the only interaction he and I ever have.
I think it'd be funnier if like he does a press conference that, you know, because they do these press conferences in camps. It's not like you're talking to these guys one-on-one that often, unfortunately. And so he does his press conferences. You don't ask him a question. He's walking off and you tap him on the shoulder. You say, by the way, Michael Dunn says hello.
I actually, now that we're talking about it, I think there could be a very navel-gazy Wolfston where I just go up to him and apologize for the awkward interaction and see if he remembers it at all.
Okay. Or interview him about Michael Dunn.
About Michael Dunn, yeah.
That's true too. Like, about different interactions he might have had with Michael Dunn.
And maybe the chicken vodka wrap.
Well, that's worthy. I mean, that's awesome.
You know what? Like maybe that's the question to him is, what does he find creepier, the interaction that he and I had, or you going to his hometown and getting the chicken vodka wrap and asking around about him?
What he finds creepier?
Yeah.
Define creepier. Like, well,
what weirds him out more?
I would imagine what I did would weird him out more, but I think there's probably. But I wasn't. I was doing.
Well, I'm not saying you were doing anything untoward.
Yeah.
You were doing your job. But,
yeah.
But his perspective of it might be interesting.
Yeah, but there's a player who I want to. Well, there's a handful of players who I want to do features on, but there's one guy in particular where I want to find out his favorite place in his hometown to eat, and just go there, because I do think you can learn a lot about someone by their favorite hometown eatery.
I mean, welcome to the Jeffrey Lurie Media Guide, my friend.
That is true. I gotta say, Javon Hargrave's hometown, Fletcher Cox's hometown, Nick Sirianni's hometown. I can keep going on. I went to all their favorite spots.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I find out what they eat. The weird one, and I've said this, was I'll share this story. I don't know if Joy has heard this story, but I went to Carson Wentz's hometown, and I wanted to know where he ate the night before.
One of the same booth.
The night before he went to Chicago to be drafted by the Eagles, and then I wanted to know where he sat, and I wanted to sit in the booth that he sat, and then I want to know what he ordered, and. I think by that point,
by the time they turned around and you were sniffing the seats, they thought, okay, something weird is going on here.
I said, I'm a reporter. I'm trying to get the detail, but I was trying to capture like his last night before he was a part of Philadelphia. Like this was his last meal.
You're taking cotton swabs out. You're taking samples. You got a black light. You're doing this whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can learn a lot about someone by food.
All right, last question about the quarterbacks,
yes.
Zach. Now that Devontae Parker is gone from the roster, is it fair to say that Will Grier is your least favorite Eagle, the player you hate the most on the roster?
First of all, I don't hate anybody on the roster. I didn't hate Devontae Parker. No, I remember Will Grier when he was a high school prospect in Charlotte. His brother was a Vine star. I told you that. Okay. But yeah, I kind of respect that Will Grier's hanging on and is in a camp, and I'm not expecting
coach
to see
and
much
training, it seems, right?
Yeah, coach and training. I mean, I will miss the third preseason game this year. I imagine that's gonna be like a Will Grier special.
Okay, there you go. Well, don't sleep on Will Grier. Just like you shouldn't be sleeping poorly. Because at Sleep Healthy PA, they are committed to helping Philadelphia residents stop the snore and find solutions for sleep apnea that will allow you to rest well and improve your health. We've talked about this. You know what causes sleep apnea. It's that choke point in the throat that causes snoring. That's like a kink in a garden hose. Well, Dr. Andrew Cohen, who is a board-certified dentist in dental sleep medicine, is available to help you get that kink out, work it out. And his staff will work one-on-one with you to provide first-class care that will meet your needs. Many physicians are not equipped to provide other options outside of CPAP machines, but that's not a constraint for Dr. Andrew Cohen. He's got the secrets. So if you're tired of CPAP machines that are cumbersome, and it's bothering your significant other, head on over to Dr. Andrew Cohen. His team is committed to stopping the snore, and if you tell him that PHLY sent you, you'll receive 15% off your initial workup, which is a 2-hour initial exam split into 2 sessions. You got the information gathering and the reviewing of the results and sharing of recommendations. So, if you are experiencing sleep apnea and are looking for a custom solution to stop the snore, reach out to Dr. Andrew Cohen at sleephealthypa.com or call 215-337-2501 and tell him PHLY sent you.
We're going into the 11th month here at PHLY, and I'm so grateful for all the new advertisers that are coming on and all the new support that we're getting. But I have a soft spot in my heart for the OGs too, the people who are here from the beginning, and that's FOCO, right? FOCO was here from the start.
Day one.
FOCO is a leading manufacturer of sports and entertainment merchandise. And they have a product line that includes apparel, accessories, toys, collectibles, novelty items, and more. They have the best officially licensed gear for all sports and fandom. If you're going to a basketball or a hockey game, show off your love with team branded friendship bracelets, whether it's hoodies, jackets, beachwear, or even overalls. There is something for fans for almost every occasion. FOCO has hooked PHLY up and provided awesome pieces for our sets. You can see it over Bo's shoulder when we go to a wide camera angle. FOCO always has our back for Philly sports, and they have yours too. Get the best gear around by using the link in our description for all non-presale items. Use the promo code PHLY10 for 10% off.
Zach, we know a lot about each other doing this show every day.
I don't know where this is going. I'm right here.
There's something about me that I don't think you know. I've been getting into the spelling bee, the New York Times game app.
My mom does this. I was helping her this weekend.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
That's it doesn't come as easily to me as like the crossword puzzle or the Wordle or something like that. And so
what a flex right there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little bit. It's accessing a part of my. Some days it all comes together and I see the board and I get to that genius level. But some days I'm stuck on like solid.
Okay.
Not good. It's a good variance.
How much time do you devote to brain teasers? Because you're good at them, but B, you do a lot of them.
Yeah, but I feel like I vary. Like they come in waves. Like all the ones that I don't do them all the same day. I get into little patterns. So like the spelling bee is the one that has its tendrils in me over the past month or so.
And do you find that it activates your mind?
I think so. I don't know if it does, but it feels like that. It's usually one of the first things I do when I wake up.
Well, you have an active mind, so that's good.
Yeah.
What time did you do it this morning?
Well, that's the nice thing about the spelling bee is you can return to it throughout the day.
Okay.
So I'll do it when I wake up and then check it out, see if I see something differently.
I've noticed that about you. You'll be at you'll be waiting at a press conference and you'll pull up a chess game or something like that on your phone.
I do a crossword puzzle. Yeah, why not?
Yeah,
make some use of the time. Better than scrolling Twitter, which I'm certainly guilty of. But
yeah, I am definitely.
It feels much more better use of time.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Okay. Anything new going on in your life that you'd like to share?
That I would like to share? No, all good stuff. Excited for camp. Had a good. I took my kids out for dinner last night. I took Reed to the barbershop.
You gonna go see that movie tonight?
No, I'm not. So I'm behind in grading right now, and I need to get the grading finished. And if any of my listeners, if any of my students are listening, or I know Andrew, my boss at Colorado State. I should say, doctor. I don't want to know if I can say his name or not. But I want to do when I teach this class, I'm trying to think maybe I should put multiple choice in instead of
to make it easier.
The final project is it's like a 750 to 1,000 word article, a podcast, okay, and then a video clip. And they have to incorporate interviews in them.
It's a lot of work.
And so I go through all the podcasts and listen through to all of them.
How long are they?
Well, some of them like 45 minutes, right? And so because
solo?
So some get because they have to incorporate interviews into these assignments. So in any event, I don't want to just grade the first podcast that I listen to because you need to have some type of skill level curve in mind here, even though it's so. you go through and you
Do you have a curve? Like, will you give the best one an A, or if none of the podcasts reach what you view as the A level, will you?
I'm being I don't want to say lenient grader, but I think I'm being a more understanding grader. Like this isn't what they do professionally. If I was grading my podcast, there will be days when like my intro, my outro is not that strong, or I stumble over a word here, or I don't make a salient point. So what you're kind of trying to ascertain is a command of the subject matter that they're speaking about, some type of command over, or some type of presence, either in front of the microphone, and then just like want to, you can tell if someone's mailing it in. You can tell if someone like really cares about the assignment, and so
is it all sports?
Well, yes, it's part of the sport management program at Colorado State. So it's all sports, but it's a wide spectrum of sports, right? And so I was grading one last night. It's not horse racing; it's like horse presenting. Like, does that make sense?
I don't know.
Like horseback,
like dressage.
Like what? No,
dressage.
Yeah, like they ride horses, but not racing.
Yeah. Like dressage?
Okay, is that what it is? Okay,
is that
yeah.
like
like dress is that what it's called? Dressage?
I thought so. Yeah,
okay. I don't know. I mean, I'm reading it.
Okay,
but yeah. So I was doing that last. So anyways, I was writing a piece last night, and I was grading, and then I don't have the bandwidth right now to go to the movies.
Oh, okay.
So roundabout, but if I gave multiple choice, I would save so much time. But then I feel like the students aren't getting what they could get out of this.
Yeah. Yeah. There's probably a happy medium.
Yeah. Oh, my student evaluations again are probably gonna say I gave too much work. So something to think about.
That's what the overwhelming response was
last year. Yeah. Yeah. Too much reading in particular. Yeah.
That doesn't surprise me, but you are who you are. That's why we love you.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, Zach, let's talk about the things that we think truly matter over the first week of training camp. In the grand scheme of things, the first week of camp is going. We're going to look back on it and think that, it was really silly. We were talking so much about how good Luke Juriga looked, right? But sometimes stuff matters.
What a callback.
I remember making that mistake myself. His second year, I was like, Luke Juriga's looking pretty good. And then, like, second week of camp, he's just getting run over. Like, okay, these blips happen. But there are things that do matter. And we do have, 2 new coordinators to evaluate. We have a new role for Nick Sirianni to pay attention to. Obviously, the quarterback. Why don't you start? Give me the first thing that you think truly matters the first week of camp.
Well, I will go. I mean, besides how Jalen looks, can I use it? Because we talked about that.
Yeah, sure.
So besides that, or include that?
Whatever you want. I think we both agree that how Jalen Hurts looks.
Yeah. So the
matters.
first week. So,
but if there's like a specific thing about Jalen that you'd like to talk about.
Here, how about this? What Jalen says tomorrow.
Okay.
I'm curious about that. I think, like I've said this summer, I think some of the intention has been assigned, or it's like with the comment about Nick, some of it's been assigned to him, but he also left it open for interpretation that way. I want to see, and I asked you this, if there's any type of noticeable difference in Jalen's public comments, or if he remains like, I don't want to say defiant, but this is who I am. You guys make too big a deal about this.
Yeah, I think that's likely to happen. Don't you think?
Yeah.
Okay.
I should also say Jalen Hurts he announced a foundation today.
Yeah.
He has a foundation, and the intentions of it are very good. And we
think.
Well, I spoke in the summer about the air conditioning in 10 schools in Philadelphia. I thought that was really like intentional. And what I'm going to read this specifically. Jalen Hurts launched the Jalen Hurts Foundation, which was founded to strengthen communities by serving, mentoring, and advancing youth.
There you go. I also think it's table stakes for us to say like the actual most important thing is nobody suffers a season-ending injury.
Yep.
Like that's really the most important thing over the course of camp. But aside from that, of the like the camp battles that we expect and where guys are lining up, I don't think that where guys are lining up on the outside of cornerback the first week necessarily matters too much. Like if it's Isaiah Rodgers day one or week one, that doesn't mean that Quinion Mitchell or Keeler Ringo might eventually overtake him. At right guard, I think it's going to be Tyler Steen for the first week, and unless I still think it's possible that Mekhi Becton overtakes him or somebody else does, but that's not going to happen in the first week, is my expectation. I think the one position where it does matter to see who is installed day one is linebacker.
Yeah, I have that on my list here. Yep.
It's going to be Devin White. And now that Nakobe Dean is theoretically 100% ready to go and can be a full participant, if he is not, the starter opposite Devin White, and it is Zach Bond, I think that does matter. I think it tells you what Vic Fangio thinks of Nakobe Dean, what he's seen on tape, what he evaluates of him in person. And if it is Nakobe Dean, then maybe it was much ado about nothing in the spring, and that's what our expectation will be for week one.
That's a great point because it's no longer, as far as I know, about Nakobe Dean's health, right? Like, he's had the full offseason now. Right. He should be healthy going into the summer. So if Nakobe Dean's not out there, if he's rotating with Zach Bond, that really shows this is a legit competition.
Okay.
Yeah, my next one, James Bradberry. We did not see James Bradberry during the spring. We thought we were going to see him for a mandatory minicamp, and then he got injured during a stretching period. So, look, if James Bradberry, if there's like a lingering injury or something, my guess is that it's really...
We can roll our eyes about that.
Yeah, it's kind of them holding Bradberry back. They'll see about trading him, that kind of thing. But if Bradberry's out there, and we talked about this yesterday, I want to, is he playing safety? Is he second-team safety? Is he at corner? But how does James Bradberry look? Because, look, a year ago, James Bradberry was he went into camp one of the most important players on the Eagles. 2 years ago, he was a second-team All-Pro. So, yeah, how James Bradberry looks is an important storyline here.
From a Jalen Hurts perspective, the specific thing that is interesting to me is he throwing to guys other than A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and Dallas Goedert?
Good point.
Maybe that's Saquon Barkley. It would be nice if it was. Maybe it's Paris Campbell. Maybe it's Johnny Wilson or whoever. But in the flow of the offense, is the ball finding guys other than those top three? Because we know that he can throw the ball to those guys. And I think that would show a command of the offense that is maybe ahead of schedule.
That's a good point. And I think Saquon in particular. Now, I don't want to be misled like I was last year, but the Eagles they signed Saquon to be a 300-touch guy, to 275 to 300 touches, and that's not all going to come on the ground, right? It's going to come through the air. So I said on Anthony's show, and I believe this, if Saquon's not involved in the passing game, I don't think it's Kellen Moore's system. I think it's Jalen Hurts not throwing to the backs. Because there is history of Kellen Moore's system incorporating the backs, right? Yeah. And there is history of Jalen not throwing it. And like we've said, Nick Sirianni, when Nick Sirianni got here, he was candid about, like, we're going to throw the ball to the running backs in this offense. And then last year he was saying Saquon Barkley has receiver hands, right? So I think Nick Sirianni wants to throw the ball to the running backs, but Jalen's the one who delivers the ball.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I'm going to stay on the wide receiver wavelength here because the first week of camp, that's what we're talking about in particular. There's no hitting, there's no pads on the first week of camp. So the linemen, even the linebackers, you can't really tell as much early in camp. And I shouldn't even say hitting, but there's no pads on. So it's a little different type of intensity. But you can typically see skill players. And so is there a third receiver who emerges here? Does Paris Campbell look really good? Does John Ross carry momentum into training camp? Does Anaya Smith, someone who I think, like, if Smith is good, he has a shot at being the third wide receiver, does he emerge? So I want to see, is there a wide receiver who starts to separate himself during the first week of camp?
Okay, well said. For me, very in the weeds on the offensive line, but to the point of the Tyler Steen trust, does it continue that Matt Hennessy is only taking his snaps at right guard and not practicing at center? Is Mekhi Becton getting a lot of work at guard, even if it's on the left side? I think the way that the second-team offensive line rotates will tell us a little bit about their relative faith in Tyler Steen.
I want to ask you, because we made a bigger deal about Matt Hennessy.
Is Trevor Keegan working on the right side?
We made a bigger deal about Matt Hennessy because of when he signed. We were talking about the additions during free agency. We did not talk much about Max Sharping when they signed Max Sharping.
Yeah.
Do you view Sharping and Hennessy on the same level?
No.
Okay, and why not?
because they
because of
signed
when
one guy the first week of free agency and they signed the other guy in June.
Okay. Is there anything to the fact that they signed Sharping after seeing Hennessy on the field or seeing these guys on the field?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Do you?
I don't, but it's just something that I've seen out there. So that's why I'm asking.
Yeah, I think that's more just getting ahead of depth things, and this is a guy who has a baseline level of competence that is still available.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see Saquon because not to say this is going to be like A.J. Brown in 2022 or T.O. in 2024. I was at that training camp. But you get a high-profile player who comes into your offense. Every time they touch the ball, there's a buzz among the crowd, right? And it might be a little different for a running back, but Saquon is he's a star, right? Besides the contract, he's not getting paid more than Bryce Huff. He's not getting paid. There's a lot of guys, or there's a number of guys on the team getting paid more than him. But from like a profile perspective, he's a star, and you want to see how he looks in practice. We don't get to see much of it during the spring. I want to see more during the summer.
Okay. Last one for me is from a how does Vic Fangio prepare these guys perspective, the versatile guys, the positionless players, if you will. Cooper DeJean, Avonte Maddox, where are they lining up? How many different places are they lining up? Nolan Smith, is he doing some interesting stuff? Even Quinyon Mitchell, who spent a little bit of time in the slot in the spring, is he working at multiple positions? I'm just curious to see how he is putting that puzzle together and evaluating all the different moving parts.
I like that. Before the show's over, I did want to ask you a question.
Okay.
And you can't get mad at me asking this.
Never get mad. I'm still Vacation Bo, baby.
I'm not asking
VB.
you who the Camp Crush is. But we're fortunate here. This is our first training camp at PHLY. Okay. We have, and I'm so appreciative of the sickos and the longtime listeners. We've also, if we can pat ourselves on the back here, I think we've continued to grow the audience and built a bigger audience. There might be audience members who are unfamiliar with the Camp Crush. So
the BWCC.
It's obvious what it is, but what goes in to finding a Camp Crush? What's the history of the Camp Crush? And because we will be referring to the Camp Crush throughout these next few weeks, can you give the new audience a sense of the prestige that is the Bo Wulf Camp Crush?
Well, it is a storied history.
Okay, yeah, there is.
The idea of the Camp Crush is it is a player who is under the radar, who is popping to some degree. And the mistake I made last year is I waited a little bit too long. Tanner McKee was the guy, was the guy, and I was ahead of that. And then I waited a little bit too long, brought in the full the core four, which we all remember. But the idea is, a player who, in my estimation, is outperforming what the low it has to be a player of low expectations, whether that's an undrafted player or a veteran. And I don't know if it was the first one, but DeAndre Carter, I believe, is like the original. And then we're talking DeAndre Carter, Sua Opeta, Elijah Riley, Coyote Awashika, Reed Blankenship, players who all have very much in the NFL exceeded their expectations going in. And so the history is storied and obvious. I've thought about, are there positions that I haven't had a guy before? And now Christian Ellis was a linebacker last year. So that was part of what intrigued me about McKee. But I saw the quick decision making early on. I don't know. I don't want to prejudice it. And that's actually what's nice about it, is that oftentimes it has been a player who I would not have expected to be the guy. I think the only guy who was going into camp was on my radar and turned out to be the guy was probably Coyote.
Okay. Now, when in camp do you say, all right, I know you have to let it come to the heart, but when are you like?
It's very romantic. It's very much like, oh, wait a second, I didn't know. I wasn't familiar with your game.
Yeah,
then I want to see. Once the first initial crush happens, I want to see one more day of, okay, that's it. Yeah, I like what they're working.
You want to see one more day, okay?
Yeah.
Okay. And so, is there? What do you think it's going to happen by the first preseason game?
That's the before the first preseason game is the drop dead point. But I would that was my problem last year. Is I waited too long until then. I would hope that it happens by the second day of padded practices or something like that.
Okay,
we'll see.
What do you think your ratio of 7-on-7s to 1-on-1s will be?
I mean, I would hope that it would be 100-0. I would much rather watch the 1-on-1s.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll.
I'd rather watch football than flag football.
True.
That's my job.
So when we do our training camp shows, which will be 2:00 every day, we'll come fresh off the practice field. I'll give you an update on the 7-on-7s. Bo, we'll tell you what's going on the 1-on-1s.
Yeah. That's exactly right.
And we'll.
Now we're talking O-line, D-line 1-on-1s. I do like a wide receiver DB 1-on-1.
Who's going to be the Rita's king, if you will? Who's gonna be like the guy who's carrying the most Ritas or eating the most Ritas post practice?
I mean, it's probably going to be a rookie offensive line.
My Lotta likes it, but this is my question for you. So,
but usually it's going to be someone it's probably going to be Trevor Keegan, bringing it over to.
But all right, so this is a better way of phrasing it. Okay, Jordan Davis was pretty adamant that he's cutting out the, he's cutting out the juices. Okay, if he wants to kind of spoil himself, he has like a low sugar mango juice from Whole Foods. Okay, if you see Jordan Davis with the Ritas, is it a red flag? Or he earned it. He just worked out in the sun at 300
I don't have a strong opinion.
Okay.
Good for him, I guess.
Sorry.
What about you?
Trying to add some fun and levity to the show, and you completely, I don't have a strong opinion. Can I do that next time you say next time you ask me something that I don't want to venture toward that territory, I can just say, I don't have a strong opinion.
Do you have a strong opinion about Jordan Davis having Ritas post practice?
No, I don't. I thought you might have a witty...
I think they should cut him if he does that. I think they should cut him, if not kill him.
I thought you might have a witty retort, but I suppose not. Julia, question for you. Okay, hot day. Do you want water ice or ice cream?
Water ice. Also, I was going to say that there are a lot of sugar-free options at Rita's now, so he could still be having
but
that.
But at the stand at the facility, they don't sometimes have the sugar-free.
Water ice over
so
ice cream.
So you're water ice.
Sure.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. Joy and I are on the same wavelength here. This is another old training camp debate. Look, I love ice cream, but the analogy I've used is on a hot day, do you want a glass of milk or a glass of water, right? So on a hot day, you want water, not ice cream.
Okay, will you be participating in the Ritas?
No, I will not.
Never.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Unprofessional?
At one point I thought that, but then I'm trying to look, I'm in front of a camera every day. I'm trying to eat healthy. I know what happens every year is I feel good going into camp, and then by Thanksgiving, I'm a mess. I've been on the road.
Yeah, because you don't sleep.
I've been on the road. I've been sick. So every year it's like the same thing. And then I go at the end of the season, during camp is a time of year when I try to I try to maintain being healthy. I still get all my steps in, and then come October and November, I mean there would definitely be like a 3-week cough that on the show. There's
can't wait.
Yeah, I promise you that's gonna happen. But I usually avoid the water ice during camp. We'll see. Maybe. I love Ritas. So
okay. I like to have one ceremonial last day of camp.
Okay.
To close it out. Yeah.
I like that. Will you go to? Will you have a Saturday where you go to FDR Park for the?
The Southeast Asian Food Festival.
Yeah, that was good.
They've got to practice on a Saturday or a Sunday. Yeah, why not?
Good. I like that. That was good.
That's where you and I took a little walk and you debated whether to take this job.
And 11 months later, here we are.
There you go.
Yep.
All right, that'll do it for this episode of the PHLY Eagles podcast. Boy, tomorrow's a good one because we will have the first practice of training camp to talk about. Practice is early in the morning. Not early as far as Zach is concerned. Mid-morning for him, but that's okay. We're going to be here live at 2 o'clock to talk all about it. And 2 o'clock what we're hoping in perpetuity for the long run here. So
Perpetuity.
practice on Wednesday and Thursday.
You can't promise perpetuity.
I said what we're hoping is perpetuity.
Yes, okay.
And sound off in the comments about how you think the Eagles should punish Jordan Davis if he has water ice after practice. Make sure you subscribe and like the video and all that good stuff. Evangelize and get ready. Buckle up because the pads are popping, the clickety-clacks are clickety-clacking, and we're ready for some football. So for Julia and Zach, I'm Bo. We thank you for watching. We'll talk to you tomorrow. And as always, we love you.
We all silly like the mayor.